Hi guys, so I've got the MG5 EV from Jermynandsons Seaford MG to try out for a couple of days. I wanted to make this video to show you some of my favourite features about the car and some bits that I don't quite understand or are a bit niggly. So a quick introduction to the car. This car has a 52 kilowatt battery which will give you around 215 miles on the charge. Obviously those numbers depend on how you're driving, if you've got the heater on, if it's cold, if it's warm, but I think you can easily see around 200 miles per charge. The MG5 can also take advantage of high-powered chargers. It can charge up to 80 kilowatts, which means a quick rapid charge on a longer journey won't be a problem. So the MG5 has great practicality, which will serve most families very well. It has a large boot with a 60-40 split, so fitting stuff in won't be a problem. If you're a dog owner as well, you won't have much of a problem as there's plenty of room for large dogs. This is the higher end exclusive model, which has electric powered seats for the driver's side, which have all the support you need in all the right places. I'd like to add that I'm 6'5" and I don't have any problems in the driver's seat with my seat all the way back. I could also bring it a little bit further forward if somebody in the back needs some more room. Head height in the car is also great, which you wouldn't expect from an estate car. I've also driven the ZS EV and the head height is pretty much the same. The back seats are also pretty good for taller drivers, which means you can comfortably fit 3 adults in the back. There's also 2 USB ports to keep your rear passengers charged up. So like the ZS EV, you have the rotary dial to go into drive, reverse and neutral, which is one of the best features about the car. So twist it into drive and we're ready to go. Just like to add that I'm currently in KERS free, which means your kinetic energy regeneration system, I believe, which is the same as your normal regen in any other electric car. So if you let go of the accelerator, it will slowly bring you to a stop. It's not as fierce as the ZS EV. In the ZS, if I let go of the accelerator, it really does pull you down to a stop. In this, it's more of a gradual stop. I'm currently driving in sports mode and the car has so much power. It's definitely more punchy than the ZS. I'm currently going 50 and if I just tap my foot down slightly, it still has a lot of power. Inside the interior of the car, it has everything you would want really. You've got your infotainment system, which is compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have heated passenger and driver seats, and you now have auto air conditioning, unlike the ZS where there was no climate control. On the display in front of me, it's been upgraded from the ZS's display last year. We now have a much bigger screen that shows me my digital speed, my range, my percentage, my battery voltage, all the information I'd like to know, like my miles per kilowatt and how far I've gone on a charge. I don't really understand why they still have the 2 rotary dials on the left, as one big screen would be much nicer, and that's what most cars seem to be doing nowadays. So as I mentioned, I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'5", and I've currently got the seat set to my driving position. If you're slightly taller than me, you can go back even further. So for tall drivers, if you're in the front, I think you're going to be okay. I've also had my dad as a passenger in the passenger seat. He is 6'8". It was a little bit tight, I have to say, for leg room, but headroom, there was still plenty of room. I would have liked to have seen MG Pilot on the MG5 as it is on the ZS EV, and it is one of the best features out there, especially for a long motorway drive. You could easily do a long distance drive in this car, and the MG Pilot would just make it a much nicer experience. I did ask the garage why these cars don't have MG Pilot, and their response was they were trying to market these cars towards fleets and taxis. Right guys, I thought I'd just go for a drive to the nearest rapid charger, show you how you charge up the MG, and give you some of my thoughts on how it's performed over the last couple of days, and what my family have thought of it, and most importantly what my mum has thought of it. She owns the ZS EV and she's had that for about 3 or 4 months now. I've also driven that, so it's nice to compare the two on how they both drive, how they both perform, what I miss from the ZS and what the MG5 does better. So to start, personally I prefer the looks of the ZS much more from the outside. I think it looks more of a more newer car, a more modern car. The MG5 is it's not the best looking car, I have to say, but it's an extremely practical car, and to be honest, it's what people want. Most people just want a practical car that they can put everything in, fit the dog in, fit their children in, and this is exactly that. As you've seen in my video, the MG5 has a huge boot, which is really practical and is just what people really want. The interior of this car, in my opinion, is much nicer than the ZS. To be fair, our ZS is an Excite version, so obviously this one has the leather seats, so does the ZS if you opted for the exclusive model. But putting that aside, it still feels like a much nicer built car and a much more comfortable car to drive. The seats are much better in this. I do struggle in the ZS slightly for the seat, for comfortability in the seats. Might just be my size, but I do find these seats are much more comfortable. And the display, you can't see it right now, but the display right in front of me that's giving me my speed and giving me my charge information is a lot better in this compared to the ZS. It's much bigger, it's a lot more clearer. And it's just great to see how far MG are coming from their first ever electric vehicle to this is their second electric vehicle, and it's great to see that they are improving, and over time they're just going to get better and better. One thing I would like to mention is the regen in the ZS on mode 3. It's a lot more fierce and a lot more strong, which my mum loves. Because she's so used to it now. When I drive it, I find it a bit too much, so I put it down into mode 2. But I've started to get used to it a bit more, and I kind of like driving the ZS in mode 3. But in this, I find myself always going into mode 3, and it doesn't seem that strong. It feels like this is in mode 2 compared to the ZS, and especially at higher states of charge, that's understandable, as there's nowhere for the energy to go. But it would be nice to have maybe another option on top of mode 3 in the MG5, or possibly just a little bit stronger. But I can tell there is a huge improvement in range from the ZS to the MG5. The ZS has a 45 kilowatt battery, I believe, and this has a 52. It doesn't sound like that much of an improvement as in battery size, but the range is much better. I've currently got the heater on, and I've got 75% left with 140 miles on the GOM, and I'm in normal mode, and that's in really cold weather. And to be honest, I reset the trip meter before I left the garage, and I haven't been driving it lightly. I've had it in sport mode every single day pretty much apart from today. It really does seem like a great range improvement. So I'm currently about to pull into Withdean Stadium, where there is a rapid charger, and I've never used this rapid charger before, so hopefully it works. I've bought the Polar card I've got, so let's see if we can get it going. I know it's probably a very bad test as I'm on 75% and I don't need to charge, so I will get a much slower charging speed, but I just wanted to give it a test if I'm honest. I have to say the reversing camera on this is very nice compared to, well, our ZS doesn't have it as it's an Excite model, but compared to my Zoe it seems much better. So there's a lovely Tesla charging at this charge point, so I'm going to head to a different one. Tesla, if you'd like to give me a car to review, let me know. I'll be more than happy to. But a long journey in this type of car, you wouldn't even have to think really about charging, because how often do you go out of a 200-mile radius? For example, the only long journeys we do in our family really is to visit family in Birmingham, which is around 170 miles away. So you probably would want to charge, because you'll get to your destination with only little charge, which is fine if you're going to be staying there for a couple of days, because you can just plug in on the granny cable, which is included in the car, which is a granny cable is a 3-pin plug that plugs straight into a normal standard wall socket and then plugs the other end into your car. It will take a long time to charge up. I'm guessing 50 kilowatt battery. It'll take maybe a day or two, possibly, yeah, about a day or two. But it's fine if you're just topping up throughout the day. But on a long journey like that, I'm going to probably stop anyway to get something to eat or go to the toilet. So if you're stopping, you may as well charge up anyway. And like I said, if you own an estate car, you're probably a family anyway, to be honest. So you've probably got young children or a dog. I'm not saying all estate car owners are a family, but most of them are. I don't know about younger children, but I can barely go 200 miles without a break anyway, so you're going to be stopping. And that's what a lot of non-EV owners don't really understand just yet, which makes sense because they've never driven one or they've never done a long journey in one, is if you want a longer range EV, you're going to be having a bigger battery, which is going to cost more. But how often are you going to go out of that range? And if you are going out of that range anyway, you're more than likely going to be stopping. So MG have really hit the nail on the head here. They have the car that does 200 miles on a charge, which is pretty much perfect for 90% of people, in my opinion, as they're going to stop anyway. And that means it keeps the cost down. I believe these cars start at around £25,000 after the government grant and the dealers' offers and whatnot. It's really worth looking into this compared to other electric vehicles if you're after a bigger car with longer range, as this is the first ever electric estate car in the whole of the UK. So I'm just about to pull up to the rapid charger. Go. So this is an Osprey charger. So they're super easy to use. You can either subscribe to an RFID card. If you don't have that, you're not going to be left stranded. All you have to do is use a contactless card or Apple Pay. So I'm going to use Apple Pay. So open the front badge, open the charge port covers. I want to start a charge. I want to use contactless payment. I want to start. I'm going to use Apple Pay on my watch, so this could be the same as your debit card. Give it a second. Processing payment completed. I want to use CCS. Connect your vehicle and press the start button. To there like that, and tap start. Give it a second and then it'll start charging, so I'm going to get back into the warm car. So it'll say charging in a second. You've just got to give it a second so the car will communicate with the charger and the charger will communicate with the car. And we're charging. So I don't really need this charge, as there's no point really charging when you've got such high state of charge, as you won't get a very good speed. So ideally you want to arrive at a rapid charge with around like as low as possible really, or whenever you actually need it. So I'll give this 5 minutes, just top me up a little bit. So the only reason I came to this charger was just to show you how easy it is to charge an electric vehicle, especially when these type of chargers are popping up all over the place. They're getting faster and faster. The cars can get faster and faster at charging. So stuff like this, you'd only ever spend, like, if you wanted a decent range, half an hour on a long journey, 25 minutes, just depends what you need. So I'm going to unplug now. I've been here for about 2 minutes and it's put in 4 miles. So there's no point me staying here as I didn't need it. Stop the charge. I'm just going to go off the screen. Stop charge. I use contactless payment. Tap my card so no one else can unplug the car. And stop. And just unplug the car. Follow up screen and off I go. So today is the day I am taking back the MG5. I'm on my way to Jermynandsons in Seaford right now. I'm gonna miss this car. I really enjoyed it. It's nice for me to be in a big car for a change. As I said, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5", so it is a very comfortable car for me. So any tall drivers out there, have a look at the MG5. It really is a comfortable car for a tall driver. But yeah, that is it. I'd like to thank Ben at Jermynandsons MG in Seaford for lending me this car. for this video. So thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you'd like to know about the car, put it in the comments below. I'll also put Jeremy and Sons contact details in the description as well. I'm sure they'll be able to ask any questions you have, or if you'd like to take this car on a test drive. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.